Capcom releases some very questionable PC ports. I feel like that's obvious for anybody that's ever experienced PC ports for Capcom, right? Well, some new information has come out about Capcom, which I've been saying since the beginning, especially with Monster Hunter Wilds. I've been saying since the beginning. I was like, dude, we need to focus on the PC ports with Capcom. Well, apparently, they're going to be forced to agree with that at some point in time. Check this out. So the stats, we're going to go over it, but the headline reads more than 60% of Capcom's digital sales last year were on the PC platform. Over half of the digital sales, which is the majority of their sales, was on the PC platform. That is a massive shift from what used to be a console-heavy company. It is now shifted over to 60% of PC game, which is so insane because there's people out there that would try to tell you with games like Resident Evil and all that, they're like, oh, but it's more famous on console. It's more popular on console. That's not becoming the truth anymore. That's not becoming the truth anymore. Really quick, we got True North with a 10 membership banger, which means he unlocks the Kata nuke and is nuking the chat. Let's go. Whee! Shout out to True North. Thank you so much for the 10 membership banger. I appreciate that for nuking the chat. Thank you, my man. And then Dark Exile with a 2 says, taint. And that's it. Just taint. Just taint. I think that's his new thing now. Just taint. Just taint. And shout out again for Toasty for rating us. All right, boys. So let's get into this. So 60% of Capcom's digital game sales last year. Now, if you guys remember, when I was playing Monster Hunter Wilds, one of the things I talked about is while the game was great, right? The game was great. It was a lot of fun. My biggest issue was with the way they ported the game over to PC. And I saw a lot of console players, they were trying to do their typical console thing, which is, oh, if the PC version is fucked up, they try to pretend like they're superior at the time. They try to say, oh, look at the PC boys. They got the fucked up version. We got the best version. Even though everybody knows that it's going to be patched out and eventually the PC version will be the best version. But they still try to ride the wave while they can. But in any case, my biggest complaint was the performance of the game, right? It was a huge problem when the game first came out. Huge problem. Monster Hunter Wilds and a lot of Capcom games. It's not even just Monster Hunter. A lot of Capcom games have terrible PC performance. It is bad. It is bad, okay? Now, granted, if you have an overpowered system, you might not see it, right? I have an overpowered system, and I still saw it. Some of it, not all of it. The game ran fine, 60 FPS plus, no problem. But I was seeing visual glitches everywhere, bugs every now and then, NPCs I couldn't talk to, all kinds of shit. All kinds of shit. It's all documented on Hypnotic Live. If you don't believe me, you could go watch it. So it's a big problem. So Tanya says, to be fair, no PC games are physical. I understand this, but you also have to understand the majority of sales for most publishers are digital anyway, right? So they're talking about digital game sales with the majority of their digital game sales, even on console, they're digital. They're not really physical, right? So it doesn't matter. So even though there are no physical PC games, there were so many PC sales that it outweighed everything else anyway. I guarantee you that the console physical sales are not enough to make up that 10% plus that there's a difference in right now. I guarantee you it's not. So, but in any case, Capcom used to be a console, again, really didn't play well with PC. A lot has changed. It used to be a console-focused publisher, and they still are, or at least that's how they act anyway. Does the Steam Deck count for PC sales? Yeah, of course. Of course. Like anything on Steam, anything digital. It's not even just Steam, by the way. They're counting Steam, Epic Game Store. If they do Epic Game Store, they're counting all that, right? Says, if you've been with us for a while, you may recall that it was kind of a big deal when Capcom announced that Monster Hunter World was coming to PC. but we had to wait a little longer for it than our console pals. But when it finally showed up, it turned out to be a big hit. And suddenly Capcom was all about gaming on PC, saying in 2021 that they wanted PC to be its main platform in the future. If that's true, I didn't even know they said that. If that's true, you're doing a fucking terrible job. You're doing a terrible job. Granted, most of your sales are on PC now, but if you continue to release these ports in such a shitty way, if you continue to release these games in ways that PC players are going to leave you all those bad reviews they've been leaving you, eventually the sales are going to start to dwindle. It doesn't matter how good your game is. People are going to be heavily pissed if you continue to do this shit. Capcom may have been underestimating the potential for PC sales, which I'm sure they were, because even their shills underestimate the PC sales. But as it turns out, we already know the company posted its 8th consecutive year of record profits in its most recent fiscal report, driven by the ongoing success of Monster Hunter Wilds. But an interesting detail that went buried amidst all the numbers is just how much of a role PC sales played in that success. As noted by Tweaktown, fully 60% of Capcom's digital game sales in the company's fiscal year, and more than 54% of total game sales, including physical, belong to PC. So there's your number. There's your number, right? So even with everything included, PC is still ahead by 4% over the halfway point. So it's actually pretty fucking unbelievable. And yet they continue to release PC ports as if they just don't care. That's part of it, Full Metal. So that's part of it, right? So performance issues because Resident Evil Engine doesn't do well. I call it Resident Evil Engine, I don't care. Doesn't do well in open environments. That is true. So the RE engine doesn't do well in open-ended type games. That's been known for a while. They continue to use it anyway, and I guess they're trying to flesh it out as much as possible. But at the end of the day, like, they just, I don't know, man. They're not gonna use any other engine. They spent so much money on the RE engine. They're gonna try to utilize that as much as they possibly can. That's their bread and butter, right? So I highly doubt they're ever gonna change it. PC has been moving steadily upward in terms of its importance to Capcom in recent years, but this is a significant surge. In the company's previous fiscal year, for instance, PC game sales accounted for a little over 52% of its digital and 47% of its total. But the real tale of the tape is the actual unit numbers. Console digital unit sales slipped slightly from 19.7 million in 2023 to 18.5 in 24. But PC, look at this number. But PC, right, went from 21.6 million sales to 28.2 million sales in 2024. So console went down by almost 1 million, a little over 1 million, right? Like 1.2 million. Console went down 1.2 million. PC went up 7 million units. So that is an 8 million unit gap in differences. That is wild. And you're still going to have people out here trying to pretend like console is the number one for games like this, right? It's like, bro, that is not even close. Not even close. This number is going to continue to go higher and higher and higher and higher. It's only a matter of time. And then that's a big jump. Again, without equivalent erosion on the console side, it's down, but nowhere near as much. And to my admittedly not analyst eye, it points to a market that's been rather dramatically underserved by Capcom's focus until recent years. PC's better than a potato. PC's better than a potato. Yeah, absolutely. So in any case, when I saw this headline, I was like, okay, that makes sense, right? Because if you look at the numbers for Monster Hunter Wilds on Steam, you're going to realize that is a massive, massive, massive player base. And there's no way that there's more than that player base on console. I can't see it. We're talking about millions upon millions of sales on Steam alone, right? And sure, the numbers on console would have been high, especially in Japan. I gotta imagine that the console, most of the console sales must have come from Japan in terms of physical units. I gotta imagine, because physical media is still pretty big in Japan, whereas in the US, obviously they're trying to go digital and whatnot. They're trying to push it as much as possible. But in Japan, physical media is huge still right now. But yeah, it's a big difference. So again, 7 million between 23 and 24 for PC with an 8 million gap. It's wild. It's wild. All right, so that's basically it for the Capcom story. I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was very interesting. And if people continue to tell you that PC doesn't matter, and if people continue to tell you this is the number one line, you guys know this is the number one line that every console peasant likes to use. Okay, and I'm not talking about you console people that are normal people that are good people. You guys are hanging out in the chat. I'm talking about the fucking console losers that argue with Cassie all day. Those kind of people. They love to say the following statement, and you know this shit is not true, which is Steam numbers don't matter. Steam numbers don't matter. Fucking cope, bro. Cope, my guy. Seriously, cope. Can we stop with the whole Steam numbers don't matter? Nobody cares about Steam. Steam numbers don't. Shut up. Shut up. It's a lie. You tell nothing but lies. You're coping. You're coping. Steam numbers matter big time. Exactly. Yes. Steam numbers matter big time. I agree. I agree. All right, let's move on to the next topic, boys. We got